Guess what I just found? How to poach 30 eggs at once. Normally I'd ignore it, but look who the author is. It's Kenji, so I've got to take it seriously. Well, this throws a monkey in the wrench for me. You see, I was almost done editing my Eggs Benedict video. If Kenji's method works, my video is obsolete before I even post it. Okay, so let me back up a little. Both Kenji and I like the jelly white, but not the runny white, so we strain it out before putting the eggs in the water. Harold McGee mentioned this concept in his book on food and cooking, and you'll see this method used by many cooks. Here's Andrew doing it on Binging with Babish and Kenji doing it on Series Seeds. So it looks like Kenji and I both realized that doing one egg at a time is a pain in the ass. So we do it with lots of eggs. The difference is that I use a Chinese calendar to strain the runny white and to get my eggs in and out of the water, and Kenji uses a fine mesh strainer. The Chinese colander is an amazing tool for the job. Because it's flat on the bottom and has no feet, I can poach my eggs right in it. But most people don't have it. That's the fatal flaw of my method. Even though it's only 15 bucks on Amazon, who wants to buy another gadget? But a fine mesh strainer is a tool that most people do have, so it's a huge win for Kenji's method. The other difference between our methods is the number of eggs. With my method, you're limited to 8 to 9 eggs, and with Kenji's, you could do 30. Well, you know what? Ignore the number 30. I mean, no one needs 30 eggs at home, and they might not even fit into your strainer. But if you could even do, say, 12 to 16 eggs, that would already be great. Okay. So painful as it is, I might have to scrap everything I've already filmed and try Kenji's method. Here we go. I've got a dozen eggs in my strainer and a big pot of salted water. Let's drop them in. Oh, come on, eggs. Yikes. Somehow I thought that they would slip right in, but they didn't. It felt like my top eggs went in easily, but the bottom eggs got stuck to the strainer. Kenji's instructions said to stir the pot gently to prevent the eggs from settling on the bottom. Well, this is easier said than done, because I can't see where the eggs are. But okay, so I'll do my best. It's been about 4 minutes and they look done to me. Let's get them all out and see what we've got. Looks like I got 5 perfect eggs and 7 that lost their whites. So I suspect that I made a mistake by submerging the strainer into the pot. That might have cooked the whites that were touching the strainer and got my eggs stuck. I want to give this another try. This time I'll bring the strainer close to the water, but I'll try not to submerge it. The bottom one still felt a bit stuck, but the water is not as murky as the first time, so maybe it was better. You know what I'm realizing? You don't need to submerge the spoon all the way to the bottom of the pot. If you stir the top half of the pot, the eggs will start floating and moving. This is definitely looking better the second time around. Okay, so let's see how we did this time. Okay, I got 8 perfect eggs and 4 broken ones. So I have two concerns with this method. One is that the fine mesh strainer is not the best tool for the job. It pulls the whites and breaks up some of the eggs. And my second concern is the big pot. I poach my eggs in a skillet, and here's why. The less the egg travels, the fewer opportunities it has to fall apart. When you poach it in a skillet, you can even crack the egg straight into the water without straining at all. I mean, it will look a bit worse in the beginning. For example, this one was strained and this one wasn't. But you can trim all that runny white after poaching in just a few seconds. See, I won't tell if you won't tell. By the way, any skillet material works for this. It doesn't need to be non-stick. It works just fine in stainless. The key here is to bring the egg to the very surface of the water when you're cracking it. The less it travels, the more intact it will stay. But I can explain why most chefs use pots instead of skillets. If you work in a high-end restaurant and you need your egg to look like a ball of fresh mozzarella, you know, that perfectly oval wraparound look? A pot is your friend. You stir it to create a vortex and drop the egg in. Here's my video from 9 years ago where I did that. But that method relies on doing it one egg at a time, which is ridiculous for home cooks unless you only need a couple of eggs. As soon as you are doing more than one egg, I think the pot loses its advantages and becomes a liability. Wait, I'm starting to get an idea. Although Kenji's method did not work well for me as is, I've learned something very interesting from it. Even if your eggs are all cracked into the same strainer, they will separate once they go into the water. If that's the case, I might not need the Chinese colander to keep them in a single layer. What if I try using a regular colander to strain the runny white and then just pour them into the skillet? This is looking worse than I hoped. I was hoping that separate a bit more. Now it's been 2 minutes and they're starting to set. You know what? I'm going to try to separate them. Well, this one is good. This one's good. Yeah, this one doesn't really want to go yet. It seems too loose. But this one's good. It seems like once they set, they separate pretty easily. You know, they're starting to look like nice poached eggs. Are they done? Almost. Maybe another 30 seconds. Yeah, now they feel good. Okay, let's get them out and we'll see what we've got. You have to be quick here so that they don't overcook. Well, my friends, we did it! A dozen eggs poached at once with equipment everyone has. 11 of them are perfect, and the last one is acceptable if you cover it with hollandaise. You know what this means? This means that the 8 egg limit I was imposing on myself with the Chinese calendar is not necessary. When the eggs go into the water, their whites pull up and they don't take nearly as much space as they did when they were raw. So you could easily fit a dozen eggs into the Chinese calendar. I still think it's the best tool for the job because it allows you to get a lot of eggs in and out of the water quickly and easily. But a regular colander works just fine. So can you really poach 30 eggs at once? Not that I know of, but can you do a dozen? Yes. I'll go finish editing my Eggs Benedict video and I'll see you next week with the hollandaise sauce and all that jazz. Here are more thought-provoking culinary videos for you to check out, and if you are ever in the Boston area, maybe I'll see you in one of my classes.